God damn it, Arthur. Could you please try to keep it down?
Oh, Dutch, I'm trying to sneak. But I'm dummy thick and the clap from my ass cheeks keeps alerting the Pinkertons.
Hey, is that Arthur's big ass out here?
Oh, great, now you got him going too.
Hippity hoppity Easter's on its way. As always, make sure to follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X. And follow me on TikTok at Lielers. Lielers on TikTok. So we're finally doing it. We're doing a lot of revamping on this podcast, obviously. As you could tell, maybe the song quality sounds very, very different. But yeah, if you guys have not done so, have you checked out my new announcement video? That's crazy. Yeah, there is a lot of Funko Pops, as you can see in the background, if you managed to see the podcast announcement, hey, new episodes out, whatever. But yeah, we have a lot again in store for y'all, but most primarily, I will let you guys know right now, the review for Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, is going to be at the end of the episode. So if you guys want to skim, I don't know, hopefully in 45 minutes, either in the 30 or 45 minutes, I will let you guys know under the description of how far you can skim through if you're already just wanting to know what were my thoughts of the new Godzilla and Kong movie. I have to say it like that. It's not a Godzilla movie. It's not a Kong movie. It's both. So yeah, if you guys do want to, again, check out the description under the podcast information if you want to, so that way you guys can go ahead and skip through. But we're going to be covering everything that has been happening this past week on pop culture. It's not going to be almost everything. There was a lot that I wanted to put on here, but I'm due to the time and due to me not wanting to get tired of talking, I just say, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and do what we can and put as much. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this episode started. So I wanted to take a moment to remember one of the actors right now. We got the announcement, I think it was yesterday or the day before. We had an actor who unfortunately lost his life in a motorcycle accident. That actor happens to be Chance Perdomo. If you guys do not know who he is, he has been well known in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and then most recently Gen V. So we don't know exactly what's gonna happen, especially with Gen V, because supposedly it was gonna get a second season and he was one of the well-known characters. But because of this incident, we don't know what's gonna happen, but it is unfortunate. And some people were saying whenever we found out that he passed away, don't actors have liability or something where they can't be doing extreme things to avoid upcoming projects? I don't know what the whole deal is with Hollywood, but in this case it's it's sad because it's a motorcycle accident. He was 27. This guy had a career ahead of him, and it's really sad. So thoughts and prayers, of course, with the rest of his family. But now, with that being said, we can go ahead and move forward with the rest of the episode. Some of it's gonna be good, some of it's bad, with drama and everything. But I wanted to start off with stuff that is not pop culture related. For example, there's this character in Mexico that's very, very well known. And if you guys follow the Hispanic culture, or if you guys have been to some other concerts where you see this particular character and you're just wait a second, why does that character look familiar? I wanted to take a moment and talk about Dr. Simi. If you guys do not know who Dr. Simi is, he is the mascot of this pharmacy called Farmacias Similares. Very well known again in Mexico. They sell a lot of pharmaceutical products for a very affordable price. And I think you don't need a prescription for it, if I'm not mistaken. However, the logo itself is this person character, animated gentleman with white hair, white beard, and dressed in a white suit with a blue tie. And they call him Dr. Simi. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because I follow the official account on TikTok. Because I've been seeing so many Dr. Simis everywhere, especially for people that go in Mexico. And what I mean by people, artists themselves, they go and most of the fans literally buy the plushies of Dr. Simi, and they actually like custom design it to where they make it look like the artist that they're about to give it to them. Some of the well-known artists, like for example Adele, has like a collection of Simis. I think Taylor Swift maybe probably has gotten some. I've seen a video of Olivia Rodrigo getting a Simi, and she freaked out. She's like, oh my god, like thank you so much. Like she was probably like happy that she got her own Dr. Simi. But there's so many, even Kendrick Lamar. The one that I loved the most was Rammstein. And when Rammstein got to do their North American tour back in 2022, 2023, sweet Jesus, they did 2 nights in Mexico, and a lot of people were handing them, Dr. Simi's, which I did not know that even Till Lindemann got his hands on them. We'll get into that in a bit. The reason why I'm talking about this is because Dr. Simi posted on TikTok that he will be taking a break on social media. And I was like, what's going on? I'm like, is Dr. Simi probably coming to the United States finally? But then he posted another video of him explaining why he was taking a break on social media, but not really. And he was just saying, we're going to be going on tour to promote basically this sunscreen that the pharmacy has. But the thing that I was more focused on is when Dr. Simi's over there packing his clothes into the luggage, one of the images he happens to pack was Till Lindemann from Rammstein. And I believe it was Quintana Roo Beach. He was over there, like, after the concert and everything. He's over there holding his own Fireman Simi and just enjoying the view. And Dr. Simi's putting that picture and, saying, like, yeah, rock and roll, whatever. But I was like, Dr. Simi's a Rammstein fan. I love it. Well, obviously, we knew that, hands-on. We already knew that was the case. But I was just not expecting that picture to be into his luggage. So I found that hilarious. So that was something I wanted to talk about. If you guys have a TikTok account, definitely go follow Dr. Simi _oficial in Spanish. It's only it's like official except one F instead. Another thing I also wanted to talk about that's not pop culture related, but happens to be probably an April Fool's bit, is that 7-Eleven announced that they're going to be releasing this thing called the Big Bite Hot Dog Sparkling Water. When I heard this, the first thing that came in my mind was Limp Bizkit fans. Where are y'all? And a lot of people in the comment section, whenever they saw this image, were over there, putting Limp Bizkit gifs. And another one said, like, are we also getting chocolate starfish, But again, this is probably an April Fool's bit because the event is already happening tomorrow. It's Easter Day today. Tomorrow's April Fool's, so you never know. The good thing I'm doing this today. That way I'm not fooling anybody. So there's that. Another thing I also wanted to talk about before we dive into like the movies and all of that. Remember how last week I was talking about Lenny Kravitz inducted to the Hollywood Walk of Fame? So I came across another video on TikTok where Homeboy is literally going into a Buc-ee's for the first time. Again, this is one of our Texas staples that we have, like the largest gas stations, and it happens to be Buc-ee's. Here where I live, I have so many Buc-ee's around me, so it's like, I'm not much of a fanatic when it comes to that because they're very nearby. However, when I went to Alabama, obviously they do have a Buc-ee's in my hometown, which I thought that was pretty cool. The one that Lenny Kravitz went to happens to be in Daytona Beach in Florida. And that's the thing. These gas stations are slowly expanding across the United States. It's not like H-E-B. H-E-B's, planning to stay in Texas until probably the next 10 years. After that, who knows? But Buc-ee's has been expanding. Most recently, they actually opened a Buc-ee's gas station close to Denver, Colorado. So I'm over here like, damn, like they're really, really trying to be everywhere. Except for California, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, on this video that you see with that Lenny Kravitz posted, you see him grab a bag of Bieber nuggets, which, by the way, I highly recommend if you guys ever do go to a Buc-ee's. And it was funny because I think he was like on tour, or maybe he was like traveling somewhere on the road because he's getting off of his RV. So I'm like, hey, good thing he finally went and got to see what it's all about. Of course, a lot of people who saw him are Lenny Kravitz fans, and they were all like behind him. And it's like, oh my God, it's him, whatever. So I'm glad he got the opportunity to go. And I think I love it whenever I see like people that are either famous celebrities go into stuff that we see like in our culture in Texas. Buc-ee's is one of them. I would love to see somebody go to an HEB. I'm just letting y'all know. There's that. All right, now, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the movies category. Starting off with Sonic 3. It has been announced by the director Jeff Fowler that they have officially wrapped filming Sonic 3, and the movie is confirmed to set to release on December 20th of this year. I cannot wait. I'm definitely going to go watch it for sure. I don't care. They say it's a kid's movie. Well, I don't care, so... another thing I also found out was that there's going to be a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie coming out. And the producer confirmed that it's going to be an official reboot. So, no more Johnny Depp? No more Orlando Bloom? Well, I mean, we saw Keira Knightley for what? 1 or 2, 3 movies? I haven't seen the movies properly. I think I only seen like 1 fully. But I still was like, I'll eventually catch up, which I never did. However, with this reboot, I'm wondering if they're ever going to get some of the people from the original cast to come along and maybe do like a cameo, but also like portraying other characters. Who knows? Maybe Johnny Depp will be somebody else. An old pirate? That would be cool. Kind of like what he did with 21 Jump Street. That's one example. Anywho, in other news, and this is revolving Jurassic World. Supposedly, it is being said that Scarlett Johansson is in talks about acting in the new Jurassic World movie. For me, I thought this whole thing was done and, over with. Like, or unless if we're starting a new storyline that I don't know about, but it would also make sense. At the same time, I'm like, for what? What is there to actually talk about? Like, once you watch, Jurassic World Dominion, you're probably like, okay, this is a really good way to say, okay, bye, that's it. And I don't know what else. The only thing I can think of is maybe another reboot, just like how we talked about Pirates, but we'll see. Am I going to watch it? Of course, because I love dinosaurs. So, of course, we're going to be talking about Godzilla. It's not a dinosaur. It's a monster. It's a titan. But still, some people can say that. So, I guess. I'm a fan of, ancient, big, tall things. Anywho, you know how we've been talking about a lot of Scream drama? Well, another thing is being in the talks where Courtney Cox is in the talks about coming to Scream 7. I have not seen Scream 6, of course. I think I saw Scream 5, if I'm not mistaken. But people have said under the comments that Gail did not die. Gail Weathers. So I'm like, okay, well, then that's not an exaggeration. But Variety did posted the announcement and everybody did agree that the Scream franchise needs to end. So I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one thinking that. But at the same time, I'm like, what is there left to say? I'm curious to watch it, but at the same time, I'm like, no. Anywho, lastly, that I also wanted to mention on the movies category, this was said in an interview with Jack Black. He says, quote, that he cannot believe that we haven't had a Red Dead movie already. And I agree with this man because we already have Fallout, Halo's already, like, these two games are already made into series and we had so many movies out, but I believe Red Dead could potentially probably be another series that should be in development. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of Western style series. Cosmo is. So I'm like, for Cosmo, I will watch this. And, for the game itself, of course. And who knows, potentially, maybe we might see Pedro Pascal starring. I don't know. But Jack Black does sound like he is interested to be part of this movie, because anything that has been made from gaming to movies, Jack Black has been a part of. I think we already talked about this in previous episodes, so there's that. Stay tuned if they are potentially going to be making this into either a movie or a series. Now, speaking of series, let's go ahead and talk about television with one thing particular, and that's the only thing I'm going to talk about, which is Euphoria. So it has been said that Euphoria Season 3 is now delayed indefinitely. All actors have been told to pursue other opportunities. So this series was supposed to be released in 2025, but it does not look like it's going to happen. Of course, we already know from the beginning stages, one of the actors ended up leaving. And then, of course, with the tragedy that happened to Angus Cloud, now it's just what is going to be happening. There has been a lot of drama, obviously, behind the scenes between producers, maybe cast members or filmmakers, whoever. But it was just said, you know what, maybe it's just time to just kill Euphoria, which is kind of sad because, if you've seen the series, it kind of did end it with a cliffhanger. And now we don't know how the story is going to end. It was really good while it lasted, but oh well. It's not really much of a concern for actors themselves because they have been getting successful in other roles. Obviously, the main one is Zendaya. She has already done part 2 under wraps, and then if anything, we're still probably going to be getting maybe another Spider-Man movie, who knows, but she's good. Sydney Sweeney, she's getting there. Jacob Elordi, we already talked about him and so many other things, so I'm like, they're doing well. So who knows what's going to happen with the series itself, whether if it's going to be a done deal or who knows. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and move it along to music. Now, in the beginning of this week, we had so much drama concerning about Diddy. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I talked about this in a previous episode about Eminem talking shit about Diddy, saying that he was behind the whole, Biggie hit. So the thing about Diddy, if you guys don't have social media or have not heard, that there was a raid at his home because there was an investigation linking him to sex trafficking. Before this raid even happened, homeboy literally fled the United States. And he fled into the country, I believe it was in the Bahamas, if I'm not mistaken, where there's no jurisdiction when it comes to us in the United States. So he's free to do whatever he pleases over there. But it rises a big suspicion. Like, if he didn't have anything to hide, why did he fled? So because of this, 50 Cent, who happens to be, Eminem's homeboy, posted on social media that supposedly it wasn't an investigation. It's like a conspiracy that he's saying that maybe the reason why his house got raided was because the government is trying to get the evidence before it reaches to, tabloids like TMZ and all of that. And then it unravels a lot of people that are well known, that have probably a good reputation. Who knows, that it could destroy that just because of what Diddy may have. So I don't know about you or me, but at the same time, whenever I saw Diddy's post, I went to the comic sections and somebody posted on there that kind of does also make sense, that this whole Diddy raid was just a way for the government to distract us of what was happening with the Baltimore Key Bridge collapse incident that happened literally also earlier this week. If you guys do not know, a ship actually lost power, which also included the steering power of the boat that led to the boat collapsing the Key Bridge. First responders blocked off the bridge for other people entering, so that way, no other fatalities would happen. However, there were construction workers on that bridge and unfortunately lost their lives. Like, they have either confirmed or unconfirmed deaths. So it is unfortunate what happened, but at the same time, a lot of people wanted to talk about what was happening with the bridge and not focus on Diddy. But then it's the same thing, maybe the whole bridge collapsing was to hide what's happening with Diddy. It's a vice versa. It's like a lot of conspiracy theories out there, but for me, I just like to face the facts. There's 2 things that happened. That's all y'all needed to know about. But yeah, unfortunately for me, again, Diddy fleeing is very, very suspicious if you ask me. And this whole shit that I've seen, like with evidence, video, and all of that on TikTok, it's very, very disturbing. And it's a sick world that we live in, just so y'all know. Speaking of all of these allegations that Diddy was also going through, Lizzo, for example, she confirmed that she is quitting the music industry, and she claims that supposedly that they just don't want her there. But again, reading the comment section, a lot of people did say that maybe the main reason why she decided to quit the industry was because she is currently facing sexual harassment allegations against her. So that's another reason. I don't know what's gonna happen, but a lot of people are just not Lizzo fans, and they just say, you know what, the world's moving on, even if you announce it or not. So there's that. But with that being said, let me talk about some other good news. For example, Korn announced that they're going to be going on tour with Gojira and Spirit Box. They will be coming to Houston at the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion on October 20th. So, am I going to go? Who knows? Who knows? I kind of want to go just for, old time sakes. And plus, I mean, I listen to Spirit Box and Gojira, so yeah, might as well. Anywho, another band that's also going on tour is going to be Chris Jericho's band, Fozzy. They announced that they're going to be collaborating with Nocturnal Affair and Closure. Despite the hate that he is receiving, a lot of fans are excited. There's not a lot of places that they're going to be going to. Unfortunately, they're not even coming to Texas at all. But they're going to be going to Birmingham, Alabama on October 7th. So, yay. And then another thing before I wrap it up with music leading into gaming. It has been confirmed, and we talked about this, and I thought it was a rumor. But yes, Slipknot made the announcement and confirmed it. Dead by Daylight did collaborate with Slipknot and release 8 skins where you can be the villain. Now, we actually have the proper names of all of these characters, and now I can officially say, okay, who's who? It's 8. Remember, Jay Weinberg is not in here. Tortilla Man is obviously the blight of what they call it. Clown is the clown, so there's no creativity under that. Now, this character, who I'm assuming might be Sid Wilson, again, is called the Legion. I don't know, the hood basically resembles Sid Wilson. I'm not sure if that's really him. Corey Taylor's character is called the Trapper, big buffy guy and everything, but the mask still stays the same. And then Jim Ruth, we have him as the Death Slinger, and I'm like, does he happen to have a revolver or what? Like, it looks cool though. So after Jim Ruth, then we have the Doctor, who, again, I don't know. I want to say that's V-Man, but I also want to say that's the guy that replaced Craig Jones as the keyboardist. But hang on. And then the person that also looks like V-Man, could probably, is the Hillbilly. Now, if you guys see what I'm seeing, look at the Doctor, look at the Hillbilly. One is one or the other. One's Craig Jones, one's V-Man. I cannot tell who's who. The masks look very similar except for the color. The color screams the Hillbilly for V-Man, and the Doctor screams Craig. So there's that. And then after that, just to wrap it up, is going to be Mick Thompson's character, who happens to be the Worth or something. And I only say this is because the spelling happens to throw me off with that I. It's spelled Wraith. Right? I think? I don't know. But yeah, those are the characters, and they are now available to purchase on the game itself. Now, I am very, very interested in playing the game, but I don't know yet. We'll see. All right, and since we're already talking about gaming, let's go ahead and talk about something else that was recently announced. Ninja, one of the well-known Twitch streamers, notoriously known for playing Fortnite, has announced that he has been diagnosed with skin cancer. But he did say that it was spotted early and now is spreading, a PSA for everybody to get their skin checkups. And I think especially, everybody in the youth section who knows Ninja is probably taking advantage to be aware of it, because it is good to catch it on as early as possible and not wait until like when we're old and whatnot. Because yeah, us young people, we're very, very ignorant when it comes to our health. We literally think we're going to live forever until our back starts hurting, and that's when we're like, oh my god, we're gonna die soon, this and that. But yeah, I'm glad that he's spreading the message. Now I gotta book my appointment with a dermatologist and check up on myself too. But yeah, that's scary. If you think about it, it's really odd that us as humans, we can live and breathe in a planet, however the sun really is trying to kill us with all that ultraviolet radioactivity that's passing through us, and that leads to skin cancer. But there's other things out there that can also lead to cancer, so there's that. Anywho, and then lastly, for Elder Scroll fans, get excited because Bethesda reconfirms that they are working on Elder Scrolls 6. So for me, I'm excited, but I'm very more like on the Fallout side. And that's the thing about Bethesda. They have like these, I don't know, so many categories when it comes to their real world video games. We have Elder Scroll that takes you like into the medieval times. Fallout takes you into like this 60s modern era. And then we have Rage that kind of gives you Mad Max vibes. And I want to say Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is taking you to like a whole new futuristic world. So there's that. To each of its own. Everybody has their own taste of video games. Obviously me is going to be Fallout. But a lot of people are fans of Elder Scrolls. So again, be excited. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about wrestling and then dive into the movie review for Godzilla. Now, it's mostly all WWE focused because Wrestlemania is happening soon. I can't wait. Becky Lynch, for example, is currently on her book tour. As I mentioned, her book is, I think, officially out now. And she did an interview with, looks like, the host of DraftKings. And they asked her about her contract status with WWE. She did confirm that she has 2 months left and did not say whether if she's going to renew or, retire. She just said, we'll see. And she smiles because it's like, I think she knows, but she can't say. And that's the thing about wrestlers, you got to keep it confidential. And the thing is that a lot of fans are speculating that if she doesn't win at WrestleMania on her match against Rhea Ripley, it is probably going to happen to where Becky might potentially have to retire. However, if she does happen to win, then she's probably going to re-sign with WWE. So we'll see. Yeah, like how she said it. Now, this past Raw episode was kind of hilarious because Drew McIntyre literally is a menace when it comes to CM Punk. Like, Homeboy had some clapbacks to the guy, and it was so hilarious because the only thing that CM Punk was able to say was, boo this man. And it had me dying, though. It did. But one in particular is like at the end of the segment was when Drew McIntyre said to CM Punk, quote, "You're my number one stan." And I'm like, my boy, you're throwing Gen Z slang already? What the hell? But I love this. I'm like, this whole segment definitely got me hyped up for the match that Drew's gonna have with Seth Rollins. However, what is gonna happen with CM Punk? Is he really gonna be a referee or is he really gonna be a commentator? Who knows? But I'm already invested in this whole thing. Still, boo this man. It was so hilarious. Now, speaking of commentary, R-Truth had the opportunity to join commentary along with Miz. But if you think about it, if you watch the episode, I'm like, man, R-Truth has some skills when it comes to commentary. It's hilarious. And it was going to the point where he wouldn't even let Michael Cole do the talking. Even Michael Cole was like, I'm done. I'm like, damn, okay. I loved it. But petition to get Truth to be the next Raw commentator, I'm all for it. And see, I'm excited, like I mentioned just earlier, that I'm excited for the Drew Seth Rollins match. I'm not excited with anything involving The Rock. And here's the thing. A lot of people do agree that the segment that happened right after the end of Raw, where The Rock is beating the shit out of Cody Rhodes, was giving us Attitude Era. I do agree. I thought it was cool because it got me to the point where I'm like, damn, Rock, like, okay. However, he ruined the moment when he decided to post what happened afterwards whenever Raw went off air. And The Rock posted on social media where you hear the camera crew saying, all right, that's a wrap. And then The Rock's like, no, fuck that. Like, fuck that. No, fuck this. And he starts beating the crap out of Cody. And on the post itself, he talks about, like, no, I have beef with this man, this, and that. It's not when the camera crew says we're done. It's when I say that we're done, this, and that. I follow The Rock on social media. And I wish I didn't see that post. Because now I'm like, okay, we get that you guys are acting. Now, and you're posting this on social media saying you're not acting. My boy, we know you're acting still. And it's like, it's so bad. It's like, I don't want the image to get ruined, okay? You had me there. But now you brought me back down. If you didn't post that on social media, you would have had me there. But, you know, a lot of people on the comment section did say, like, oh my God, so it is true that he hates Cody Rhodes, and everybody after that's like, bro, it's an act. You can tell right then and there. Like, and no hate towards people that do believe it. But at the same time, it's like when you've been a wrestling fan for so long, you start, you know, pulling the little minor details like, oh yeah, you need to improve better when it comes to your acting, or it's like you're not selling it to me like I want you to, like, you know, Liv Morgan for example. But it's like with The Rock, it's more like with me that if you become an actor and you come back to wrestling, it's just not there yet, you know. And that's what I said about CM Punk. Batista not so much, but I can still see it, you know. The Rock is one of the first people that actually, you know, went from wrestling to acting, so it's really hard for me to take him serious when it comes to him being a villain. I could take him serious when he's being a good guy because he actually means it, but I think maybe because it's been so long since he's been a villain that he probably lost that, you know. But again, I told you earlier, he almost had me, but oh well. Again, the match is going to be happening soon. I still cannot wait because I think I know what's going to happen. And we talked about this in previous episodes, so I'm not going to repeat myself again. Speaking of WrestleMania, we're getting slowly closer to it. And we're getting some random matches added into this. And I don't know how I feel about it. The reason why I say this is because Jade Cargill officially made her SmackDown debut. And next thing I know, later on, she's over there assisting Naomi and Bianca Belair against Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai, which is leading to a random match all of a sudden that it's not going to be 3 versus 3. Jade, Bianca, Naomi versus Asuka, Kairi, and Dakota Kai. Me personally, I wish I would have just seen a regular tag team match. Naomi and Bianca versus Asuka and Kairi Sane, you know, the Kabuki Warriors. I don't think Dakota Kai should not even be in this match. But also for the sake of, you know, Jade Cargill making her wrestling debut at WrestleMania, it had to happen. So I'm like, great, I guess, you know. Speaking of WrestleMania, the stage is already being built at Philly as we speak. Now, next week, I'm giving you guys an update right now before I forget. Next week, we're going to be talking only day 1, which means I will be talking about NXT Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania day 1. So everything that has been happening on Saturday will get covered next week's episode. And then day 2 will probably get covered the following week. Of course, I'm just going to recap it as much as I can and try to leave out most of the details, reactions. We'll see. But yeah, because usually when I record my episodes, it'll be like early Sunday. And then the editing takes forever. So that's why I'm like, yeah, by the time I'm editing it and once I'm finished, WrestleMania is already happening in the background. So there's that. Sorry, guys. I wish I could, but, you know, it's just me doing all of this when it comes to the podcast. Anywho, and before I wrap it up with WrestleMania and wrestling overall, there is this theory that I found on TikTok from the account at the.list4. D as in THE.list4. And he has a great prediction of what might possibly be the downfall of Judgment Day, but not really as a faction, but mostly like one of the members. When you watch this clip that he posted, it sounds hands-on, just a little bit of adjustment on my part. Supposedly they're saying that maybe Damian Priest might get booted out of the Judgment Day because, you know, there is conflict on there. You can see it, especially when it comes to who's the leader of the Judgment Day and Damian Priest claiming that he is the leader himself, when in reality, I think everybody's going on their own separate ways, you know. But the person said that supposedly he could potentially cash in during Raw after WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre, who just won the World Heavyweight Championship from Seth Rollins, and supposedly there's a rematch happening. And during the rematch, that's where Damian Priest will come in to cash in. And it is made official, like no interruptions like in the previous times that he tried. But apparently, they also say that Dominic Mysterio is going to be over there on his side. And when it comes to the 1, 2, 3 count, Dominic ends up pulling the ref. And that's where, you start seeing the betrayal. And after that, Finn Balor comes into the ring and does the coup de grace on Damian. And Rhea Ripley comes out with a new referee, where they officially do the 1, 2, 3 count with Drew McIntyre winning the match. And then later said that it is revealed that Drew McIntyre is the leader of the Judgment Day. And the reason why we say this makes sense is because we have seen in so many segments there is background video where, there's other wrestlers talking, but in the background you see Rhea talking to Drew McIntyre or Drew doing some things, and it's like, what is happening here? And supposedly, like, Drew's going into heel mode, and see, he can do a really good heel mode. He's done it in the past. He's doing it again because it's still fresh, not like The Rock. But still, like, him leading the Judgment Day would make so much sense. But at the same time, it's like, damn, what is up with these people saying, like, they're the leader, they get booted off? And one person in the comments of this video said, I'm liking how Edge's faction is still going. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's always a different leader. It was Edge. Potentially right now it's Damian. And then maybe Drew McIntyre. I'm like, what is this? The Bullet Club of WWE, if you think about it, Then again, it wouldn't make sense if Finn would have been the leader because he was the first leader of the Bullet Club. Just saying. But anywho, with that being said, that wraps up what I have for you guys on pop culture. Let's go ahead and get started with my review of Godzilla Kong, The New Empire.
The missile is very tired. He is eepy. The missile has had a very long day of splashing bandits and wants to take just a small sleep. He eeby and neebies to sleepy. Mibsile sleepy and need bed by time.
So Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, is out. I went to go watch it on Friday because I was off magically, thank God. And I have a lot of thoughts. So as always, we're going to be talking about the spoiler-free review and then making my way to the spoiler version at the end. So if you guys have not been able to watch the movie, you're more than welcome to pause wherever I end at the spoiler-free version. And then you are more than welcome to come back and listen to the rest of what I have to talk about in the spoiler version. So this movie was promoted so many ways. Particularly, I was jealous over the fact that I don't live in the UK. Why? Because they had a glowing, floating Godzilla under the bridge. I think it was under the London Bridge. And then if you also look, there's also a phone booth that is being held by Kong's transformer hand. I'm gonna just call it at that. It literally looks like Bumblebee. Like, that's what I'm like, what's going on here? Call of Duty even released like Godzilla and Kong skins for Modern Warfare 3, and I'm over here like, why am I not playing video games? But anywho, and I always start off with the Rotten Tomatoes score. So here's the shitty part about Rotten Tomatoes. The Rotten Tomatoes, the critics review, basically, it is at a 54%. It is considered a rotten score, like it's bad. The audience score, however, it's at a very high 93. The audience agrees that this movie is probably the best movie ever. And I'm going to tell you my side now. First and foremost, there is no end credit scene. So do not waste your time of like waiting in the movie theater, potentially seeing that there's gonna be an end credit. The reason why I say this is because I thought there was gonna be an end credit. Like, I saw it on TikTok that potentially who might be the next villain, and I'm like, okay, let me double confirm if it is. There was no end credit, so there's that. Do yourselves a favor. Whatever you see on TikTok or whatever you see on social media, it is not true. There is nothing plan for the next movie. So there's that. Do yourself a favor, do the movie theater a favor, and just leave whenever the movie is over. And because of that, if there's no end credits, what could this mean? What I mean by this is like the Monsterverse. Are we gonna go into the whole like, okay, we're not gonna focus on Godzilla and Kong anymore. We're gonna finally focus on the other Titans. If you guys do not know, I've been following like this whole Godzilla shebang, the Monsterverse, however you guys want to call it, for so long. The reason why is because the original project was that we were going to get individual movies of Mothra, Rodan, Gamera, and then potentially leading into what it looks like Avengers Endgame kind of style for the Monsterverse, where the movie was going to be called Destroy All Monsters. And I think I mentioned this in previous episodes. But my thing is that, like, are we finally getting these individual movies that we were promised literally 10 years ago? We're probably talking more than 10 years ago, because it has not happened. And, you know, I've been waiting for Destroy All Monsters for so long, and potentially the biggest threat in the Monsterverse of all. And I mentioned this, and I'm about to dive into it probably in the spoiler version, because again, I do not want you guys to freak the fuck out. So with that being said, just keep in mind, we might not be able to see Godzilla and Kong in the big screen for some time, but don't be like, oh my god, it's over. No, that's what I'm assuming. That's my big theory. It's not confirmed. Now, I mentioned in the previous episodes that my biggest fear about this movie, because once I saw the trailer, I could tell right away it was not going to favor my opinion whatsoever. The worst part is that I was going to be even more pissed if this movie was going to be just like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is by far the worst Jurassic World movie that I've ever seen. And my fear kind of sort of came true. Just know that. Now, this movie was really for the memes, honestly. Like, there were so many memes that I've seen on TikTok where, you know, if you've seen them, you're going to compare them to the, whenever you watch the movie, it's like, I know what she means now. Like, for example, the let me tell you something meme. There's that. We've seen it. I've seen it. Now, another meme that you might compare it to is Madagascar. And yes, I'm talking the first Madagascar movie. So there is a scene on Madagascar where Alex, the lion, is attacking Monty the zebra. That's all you need to know when you go watch Godzilla and Kong. So there's that. And then the other one is Pocket Sand. Yeah, once I say that, you're going to laugh once you go watch this movie. Now, the other downfall of this movie was the storyline. It made sense on the monster side, but it still did not make sense on the human side. However, like, there were things in this movie that could not have happened in real life. Just know that. But there were exaggerations that could have been a little bit better, and I don't even know why. It made me even cringe or even do facepalm in the middle of the movies. Like, what the hell? But again, it was for the memes, literally. And then they also added regular music. There were some parts of the movie, and they have done it in, you know, Godzilla King of Monsters, and they also have done it in Kong Skull Island. But it kind of favored the movie on the Kong movie, but not so much on King of Monsters. But for me personally, I thought, okay, it's a little bit cliche, but I guess that's what kind of hypes the movie when you get regular music. What I mean by regular music is like music that we listen to, not like the orchestrated cinema version of that. So, and as a fan, I will say, I love the movie, but as a critic, I hated it. There's that. Like, I barely see Godzilla. I mostly see Kong in this movie. Keep that in mind. So I'm like, okay, what the fuck, you know? And then for me, again, I think I loved it because there was so much shit I could make fun of and also hype up of the movie. You know, it's like if I'm watching Wrestlemania. And I said that before in the last episode. It's like, it's basically, we're getting WrestleMania in this movie. And it makes sense why, like, WWE was promoting the movie. Now I understand it why, because maybe they had some involvement, but who knows. My thing is that, like, some of the other memes I could also come up with, like, as I'm thinking about it, is like, I saw a video where this person posted on TikTok where Kong was basically Kong of War. He was Kratos from God of War. And I'm like, God damn it. And then, don't even get me started. We already knew the memes were going to come right as soon as we saw Kong's new weapon that happens to be his Transformers, Thanos, Infinity Gauntlet, literally. But in the storyline, I guess it makes sense why he has it. So that's why I'm like, I can't say I hated it, you know? Like, for example, if I were to rank all of the Godzilla and Kong movies into like favorite, least favorite, right now my favorite movie happens to be Godzilla -1. You know, I won an Oscar. But if I had to pick specifically in the Monsterverse, it might be between 2016, or it'll be the very first Godzilla, and then Godzilla versus Kong because of Mecha Godzilla. I'm sorry, I'm a big door for Mecha Godzilla. But my thing is that, like, this movie particularly, The New Empire, happens to be my second least. My least favorite Godzilla movie happens to be Godzilla King of Monsters. I rewatched it literally yesterday, and I could not help but not to bear the dialogue. The dialogue was so bad. It was filled with a bunch of sarcasm, and I hated it. So I'm like, you know what? The New Empire was so much better, honestly, if I had to say that. But I did love King of Monsters because Ghidorah was in there, Rodan was in there, Mothra was in there. So I'm like, okay, I'll give it that. But it's not like I hated it, you know? But anywho, the Titans really carried this movie per usual, and that's what I'm trying to get to. So, again, I can't stay mad at it for the same reason that, who knows, maybe Godzilla directed this movie and he said, you know what, we're gonna have the best dialogue. You humans be in charge of your own dialogue, and that's what we got. Human dialogue was so bad. Because, again, it didn't make sense. It was more cliche than what I thought so. But I do say, like, again, because I am conflicted, based on, you know, critic and being a fan, I would say if you were a parent, for sure take your kids to go watch it. They will love it, you know. If my kid, like, the kid part of me would definitely enjoy it if I didn't have to criticize this movie so much, you know. But again, I would say, for example, The Boys. If, you know, guys are having boys' night out and everything, they would love this movie. I remember when I left the movie theater, so many guys were talking about this, and part of me, like, wanted to join in, but I also was like, no, like, I don't need to. But yeah, honestly, like, overall, it could have been better. I will have to agree with the audience score. It was at a good 93%, but at the same time, it's like more like, okay, I'm in between both Rotten Tomatoes score and the audience score. I think that's a first, you know. I usually say whether I agree with one or the other or neither, but no, I'm in between. It could have been better, but again, I am loving the memes for sure. The more memes I see on TikTok, the more life it gets me. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the spoiler version. So here comes your spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Let's start with Godzilla. Might as well, since he was barely in the movie. So, I know some people we were talking about this in previous episodes, where, you know, they posted a picture of Godzilla supposedly flying and holding the 2 battle axes from arm to arm. We did not see that, thank God. I was about to say, I was like focusing my face, like, okay, there's parts in this movie where they're finally like floating around because of gravity not happening apparently, and I'm over here like, where is the battle axes? And no, I didn't get to see that, thank God. But still, not only we saw on the trailer where he ran, homeboy jumped. Homeboy did like suplexes, I think or it wasn't a suplex, but he did like wrestling moves, and I'm like, what in the fuck? And that's part of the memes, you know. I see the one where Godzilla and Kong are over there fighting in one of the pyramids, and Godzilla grabbed Kong and throws Kong behind him. And on the memes, I will hear, and his name is John Cena. Literally, I'm telling you, this movie was for the memes. But I think per usual, they still make Godzilla very, very sassy and, you know, angry. I'm like, are you like very, very hormonal? You're giving me women and you're a man in this movie. Not like in 2001 or 1999 Godzilla where it was a woman, you know? So there's that. But I don't also understand why he had the necessity to kill other titans. Supposedly, my interpretation that after King of Monsters, he's the new king and everybody obeys him. But then all of a sudden, he's over there beating the crap out of Skyla, for example, who was one of the titans that bowed down in the other movie. So I'm over here like, what? And supposedly in the human dialogue, they say that he's preparing for something worse. But I'm like, yeah, why does he have to kill the other titans to do so? It makes sense with Taiman. I think that's the titan's name. Like, because he wanted to absorb that energy that creature was absorbing and, you know, made Godzilla into Super Saiyan mode. But at the same time, it's like, why? You know? And since I'm already talking about Taiman, I cannot help of the freaking jump scare it gave me as they were focusing on the details of this titan itself, because when Godzilla was approaching that creature, the Monarch file highlighted the word destroyer, and I swear again, and this is why I talk about it now on the spoiler version, I thought we were getting Destroya for a second, but I'm like, this creature is not Destroya. But why do you put that there? Because, goddamn, you almost got me shook for a second. And no, it wasn't that. And plus, Godzilla beat the crap out of Taimon, so it's like nothing. And then another thing that I don't understand was him napping at the Colosseum over there in Italy. Like, was it necessary? A lot of people were saying, like, on the meme side of TikTok, was like that Godzilla's probably a cat, you know, using the Colosseum like his nesting ground, and you know, for him to just lay there and recharge was probably adorable. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but how long is this gonna go for, you know? That's why I'm like, I don't understand, but oh well. Now, with that being said, with Godzilla, let me go ahead and talk about Kong. So I don't know where to start. The movie was mostly about him. Like, storyline wise, everything. If anything, we could have just had like Kong 2 and then Godzilla making a cameo. It would make so much sense. But of course, because it was a tag team between Scar King and Shimu, yeah, that's why I'm doing spoiler. It makes sense why Godzilla had to be there. But honestly, like, the whole storyline of him trying to find his family, or, you know, people that are him, it was kind of, you know, like, that's where I connected with him. And it's like, oh my God, I do hope he does find, you know, his race and whatnot, and then he can live happily ever after. But at the same time, it's the way how he found them was a little bit too fast and ironic at the same time. They were very, very, like, underground. Like, he was searching in Hollow Earth for I don't know how many years. And yeah, Hollow Earth is so big and whatnot, but all he had to do was go underground. That's it. They were underground this whole time. But before he did so, they had like a little Lion King reference, and even me, I'm like, cigüeña. But it was that part where Kong just, you know, lays down and just admires Hollow Earth. And then all of a sudden, he was about to eat. But then Doug comes out and tries to eat whatever Kong was about to eat. And now, everybody's obsessing with Doug. This creature, we saw him in Godzilla vs. Kong. Whenever Kong first started laying into the Hollow Earth. And, you know, Doug basically just eats anything that's in his path. Doug is giving me bulldog resemblance, but it's adorable at the same time. And yeah, I don't know. They made memes out of that, just so y'all know. Anywho, another thing that also, again, meme stuff, was when homeboy Kong decided to grab Zuko, which is the little chimpanzee, or they call him Baby Kong, literally grabbed him, said, fuck them kids, and he started using Zuko against the other gorillas. I think everybody in the movie theater started laughing whenever we saw that. And I'm like, damn. Now, men are gonna start getting ideas, just so you know. But when Kong finally, you know, met Scar King, and we get to see how purely evil this creature is, it kind of also shows you how weak he was, because he used Shimo as his weapon, you know, choice, I guess you would say. But at the same time, it's like, damn, Scar King really said, you know what? I don't know how he managed, but he said, I'm going to use all of these apes, my slaves, and then try to find the gateway to go back to flat earth and whatnot. But the way how he did it, it was very brutal. So yeah, you could tell he was a very bad guy. Now, my thing is that, like, because of this, it makes you understand how Zuko, Baby Kong, became his ally, because at first he was trying to kill him, and then now it's like Kong, I guess you would say, he adopted Zuko to become his little stepdad. It was sad though whenever Scar King decided to kill Zuko's dad, and a part of me, like, I cried, and I'm like, oh no, poor baby, but it is part of the movie. So that's where I'm like, okay, I love this movie, not only for the memes, but I actually connected with the creature, so there's that. But me, I'm like, how in the fuck did Shimu get into that whole mess? Homegirl's over there trapped and obviously basically being chained and under the command of Scar King. Scar King has this little tiny, I don't know what the fuck it is, because he just points at it at Shimu, and Shimu's over there like in massive pain trying to, like, control it, but then she's like, I guess I have no choice but to fight it off. And they do explain it in the human dialogue, but at the same time, I'm like, you see Shimu is a big ass creature, and you're over here like, how in the fuck? Like, she could have easily defended herself. She could, but at the same time, I mean, I guess now because there's so many apes under the control of Scar King, that kind of intimidates that. But I'm like, damn, Shimu, like, you don't know your worth. But anywho, and also Shimu was giving me a lot of Golden Retriever vibes. Like, it was sad. But after, she got freed of Scar King, you can see how she was like, you know what, you hurt me, gotta kill you, bye, whatever. But I think for me, it was even more sad when, after the battle between Kong, Godzilla, Shimu, and Scar King, whenever Godzilla's over there throwing his pink radioactive to the sky to open up the sun and everything, Shimu seeing that sun made me tear up a little bit, because that was the first time she's seen the sun in a long time. So I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Now, I was talking about the fight earlier. This is where it gets exaggerated, and it kind of pissed me off, but I'm pretty sure it hyped everybody up, was when the fight was happening, Shimu and Scar King, right? Scar King is over there riding Shimu like a horse, because I guess that's what it is. But then Kong does that with Godzilla, and I'm over here like, no. How in the fuck is this even possible? Last time I checked, y'all were the same height. And in here, he looked kind of tinier. So, what the fuck? But they did it. That's the part that, exaggerated. So, I guess, And then there's still the comeback of Mothra. That was what made me even more happy, was that Mothra came back. But again, the way how she came back still didn't make sense. And then Gia's over there like, floating around with Mothra. I could never. But also, what in the Game of Thrones? Now, like literally Mothra and Godzilla, there is a love story there. They talked about it in King of Monsters, and we get to see it on here. And I think one of my favorite things I see on TikTok still is whenever they have that picture of Godzilla looking at Mothra, and they put on the captions like, you're still beautiful, just like the day I lost you. And I'm like, this is so beautiful, like, I'm like, oh. But it's funny how, like, Godzilla doesn't listen to anyone but Mothra. So for her to come back, kind of had that balance and that communication between Godzilla and Kong. So in the spoiler, obviously, they talked about why Godzilla hates the apes and how Kong needs to stay in the Hollow Earth, because the flat earth is Godzilla's territory, but that's because of Scar King. So it makes sense. So I'm like, okay, the monster side makes sense. Now, human dialogue, fix it up, so there's that. Now, I love how Mothra is over there being sassy, defending her man, Godzilla, whenever Shimu decides to attack Godzilla. Like, whenever I saw that, I'm like, get it, girl, defend your man, that's right. I'm like, we love a queen that defends their king, so there's that. Mothra is the queen of monsters, and then Godzilla's the king. It's weird because, she's a butterfly, he's a lizard, imagine in real life. I don't know, there's that. But All right, and then lastly, before I even wrap it up, now the thing that could have made this movie a little bit much better, which is why I say this with the most utmost respect, is that Shimu and Scar King are new Titans. Literally, we have not seen them in the original kaijus. Some people would say, "Oh, yeah, they were there," but I'm like, "Where?" Because didn't see that. So Legendary decided to create these new creatures when there's other kaijus or other Titans that y'all could have literally brought up. I mentioned Destroyer. I mentioned Gamera. Literally, I think for me was Space Godzilla. I really would have loved to see Space Godzilla in this movie and then potentially leading up to Destroyer. Now, I mentioned, if you guys listen to the spoiler-free version, I mentioned the end credits. The end credits supposedly did say that Biolante was going to be the next villain. But again, that was not confirmed because there was no end credits in this movie. Biolante even then could have been a good villain in this movie. I just don't understand why Legendary felt the need to just create a new kaiju for the sake of this movie. And in that, I'm like, if they were to just stick with the originals, 10 out of 10, I would have recommended this movie, including the exaggeration, including for the memes, whatever it is, I would have loved it. But again, the human dialogue could have been better. And then, again, the whole Titan thing. But yeah, there's that. So that basically wraps up what I thought about Godzilla Kong the New Empire. I highly do recommend to go watch it just for the hell of it. It's a good-ass movie. Again, as a fan, I loved it. Just expect maybe poor human dialogue and stuff that doesn't make sense. But again, it is for our entertainment. So with that being said, that wraps up this week's episode. As always, make sure to follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X, and follow me on TikTok at Lielers. Lielers on TikTok. Of course, if you guys do not know, the Thoughts of Lielers is available on YouTube, and then I keep forgetting to mention, go visit my Linktree. It should be under the description of the podcast. If you guys have other listening platforms, that Linktree will guide you wherever you need to listen to. The last option that you guys have is obviously YouTube, so there's that. But I do hope you guys did enjoy this episode. I know I did, as much as I ramble about Godzilla. Now, if you guys did make it to the end and probably didn't hear what I mentioned during the wrestling category, next week's episode will consist of NXT Stand and Deliver and day 1 of WrestleMania. So we're going to be talking a lot about wrestling next week. However, because I usually record the podcast early Sunday because I have a lot of editing to do, I will not cover day 2 of WrestleMania because by the time I'm done editing, WrestleMania is already happening. So there's that. And I really do want to enjoy it. So I'm like not going to be recording and editing at the same time. So be expecting the review of day 2 WrestleMania on the following week. So y'all have been warned. Of course, as always, we do cover everything else that happens in pop culture. So there's going to be always that. So, and then obviously we're going to be talking about Bray Wyatt's documentary. We're going to be diving into that and then putting my thoughts on there. So yeah, next week is all about wrestling. Keep that in mind. I am hoping I get to watch Godzilla and Kong again because I really did enjoy the movie. I am loving the memes again. I think my TikTok feed is still giving me like recaps of the movie, but I'm like, I just want to watch the full thing because why not? It's so good. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys managed to come to the end of this episode, and as always, I will talk to you guys on the next one.